Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and I would like to call our meeting of the Scott County Fiscal Court. This is our regular business meeting for the 26th of June. So if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would appreciate it. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Hamilton, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace. Mr. Corman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Pratt.
Here.
Mr. Livingston. Mr. Willis.
Here.
Judge Covington.
Present. So with that said, let the record reflect that we have a quorum and we can conduct business. Our first item on the agenda is the minutes from our previous meeting. Those were shared by email. Any questions or comments related to those minutes as presented? Motion from Dwayne, second from Rob Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Presenting the transfers from Michelle. Any questions or comments related to those, and would there be a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Leads us to the bills and hand checks. Questions or comments? Motion from Ryan Pratt. Second from Rob Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'll call on Mike Hennigan now. Mike, we have shared a request from you, and Ms. Willis has reviewed the proposed agreement with Barron Threat Net Services. And can you just give an overview of the importance of this particular service and how the location of where the data comes from is important?
Absolutely. So one of the big things that's been, heartburn for me since I took this job is trying to provide weather data and be able to respond efficiently and prepare for what's coming in. The radar that we have to use in order to make those decisions is based in Louisville. We've got one in Louisville and one in southern Ohio. Each one of them is over 75 miles away from Scott County. So the way radar works is the further away you are from the source, the higher the signal. So we're essentially looking at a picture of what's happening 6,300 feet above Scott County when we're using those radars. Barron Weather is the company that sells Doppler radar to news companies and major stadiums and people that use it on a private basis. And they reached out to me asking if we would be interested in their ThreatNet service, which is basically forecasting a whole lot of data information. And when they were doing the preview and the walkthrough, I said, this is all great. I like what you're putting out, but you're giving me the same garbage data. I need to know what's going on in Scott County, not what's a mile and a half in the air. And they said, well, we just sold the radar to WLEX. Let's see if we can get you that data. So that's what they did. They made an agreement with WLEX so that we can use their data for our forecasting software. And that's what I'm requesting tonight, is to get a subscription with Barron ThreatNet, which gives us 5 desktop operations and unlimited mobile applications. And then using the data from Russell Cave Road, which is essentially 117 feet off the ground. I can work with what weather is 117 feet to 5,000 feet. That's a whole lot better picture than what's 6,300 and above.
So it makes a lot of sense to me. And Ben, you reviewed it. I did. And looked fine to you. And I think Ben made a comment to me that, if that made a difference in one emergency situation, of notification or
Right.
such. Probably worth every dime.
And this software allows me to do street-by-street radar. So like right now, the storm that just passed over, National Weather Service did a severe thunderstorm warning for southern Scott County. I was able to look at my screen and say, this storm is actually affecting Reno Drive, Tahoe Drive, and the corner of Lyle Road, and the rest of Scott County is not being affected. So we'll be able to make a whole lot better decisions. And then it also includes 7 days of historical data. So if somebody said that their house was struck by lightning, we could go back during this time frame and say, yes, there was a lightning strike within 50 feet of your house, or there was no evidence that there was.
But you'll use that data to share social media updates, warnings.
Right.
Activate tornado
Yep.
sirens.
Sirens, tornado shelters. There's also a piece of this data that does road conditions. So to be able to share with JR and his people what we expect for, specific areas. And
But JR, Sheriff Nettles,
Yeah.
Chief Ward, Chief Oliver,
Yeah.
they can have that mobile.
right, they put it on their phone, have the phone app, and they would have 99% of the functionality. It's just some of the archiving and data records that would not be part of their.
Good questions or comments?
Couple questions. Would this replace what's in Louisville now, what you're using out of Louisville, or you still keep it too, or?
We could look at Louisville, but we're going to be looking at our own radar instead of using the National Weather Service websites and stuff.
So with the last tornado we had there in Stamping Ground, would this have gave you a little bit more warning, you think?
Oh, yeah. Somebody in.
With short notice there,
yeah. This company would have sent me a phone call, probably either a phone call or a text message saying, we believe that there is a tornado crossing Franklin County right now. We need to take action. Instead of it being tornado at 2,000 feet and the radar showing 6,000 and, had no record of it. So.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a more real time too, because it's so close.
Yeah.
It's so focused
Yeah,
on where we live.
Yeah, we're not waiting for delays or internet actions or whatever. It's a live feed of what they're seeing just 17 miles from here. So.
Down here, any questions?
Second.
So there is one, and I would recommend just doing the 1 year commitment. Let's see how it goes. I would ask them when we make this commitment if we want to renew next year, if the 3 year commitment would be available.
Right.
So is there your motion for 1 year, Dwayne? Yeah. Is there a second?
Rick did.
Rick had a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And the one other item that you have is out-of-state travel. Would you like to
Right.
comment on that?
Yeah, I've been accepted to take training at New Mexico Tech in October. So I'm seeking approval to have out-of-state training from the 12th to the 16th of October. This is completely federally funded, so no cost to the community. They fly me there, 3 days of training, and then fly back. So it's responding to bomb incidents and IEDs, so something that have not been involved with yet, and I think it would be valuable to have in the repertoire.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
I'd also like to say I hope we don't have to deal with any IEDs soon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just FYI.
I will double. Absolutely. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Mike, thank you. That leads us now, Sheriff Nettles. Good evening. Shared some information, and Captain Bedson emailed back and forth a couple times, but Sheriff, would you talk about the grant opportunity, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, this is a grant that would cover 2 officers or 2 deputies positions for 5 years. The county would be, the grant provides $125,000 worth of funding over a 5-year period per position that is added to our current roster. The officers must maintain the position for at least 12 months after the 5-year period. We feel that these two positions could obviously help our call volume and our response time. This is just something that was brought to our attention, and we wanted to get y'all's approval, just knowing that the county would be liable over the 3-year period a substantial amount of the rest of the remaining salary.
So, we kind of shared a cost breakdown estimate on that email. And Jeff, shared again, it's kind of fresh, but total wage and benefit cost for a new position for 25-26 would be $113,312. But from what I understand, per position, that we could save $125,000 per position, but we are required to essentially keep that position for 3 years.
Correct.
And then once the grant lapses, we're required to keep it filled that next year as well.
Correct, yes.
So really and truthfully, you can apply for the grant, see the outcome of the grant, and then you can elect to accept the award if awarded or not. It's money that if the court wanted to consider adding, and I'm sure Sheriff Nettles, your request last year was to add 2 more. We added 1.
Correct.
If you added a deputy, I'm sure that you'd be putting him on traffic.
For sure. No, and we would take this into consideration if this was agreed upon and we were granted this grant, that we would take this into consideration in future budget requests.
And I asked Captain Betson, and I think I mentioned this to you as well, that if we were awarded, when would we have notification? It'd be in October. But we could wait to add this position July 1 of next year's budget.
Next year, yes.
So it's not an impact on this year's budget. So
Correct.
I'm willing to hear from you all. I'd love to hear from you all about feedback.
So, on the current roster, Chief,
Yes, sir.
how many people are coming up for retirement soon, like in this 3-year period?
We really have nobody. We have one that's planning to retire in August of this year. But other than that, we have a pretty young crew now. Yeah, pretty young crew. No one will be coming up for retirement. We did receive a 2-week notice today, actually, a couple days ago. But no one's
I like
slated
the
for
program.
retirement.
I think it's free money.
Yeah,
They'll pay for. It does pay for while they're in training too, right?
If they're a non-certified, yes, it would.
Yes.
Would you be focusing on trying to get a lateral?
I would look for a lateral if we find a viable candidate.
It's just it's going to offset. If we know we're going to add staff, it's going to offset cost. And
It's going to offset 1 year, right?
it's
Essentially,
The first year's
113.
free.
Yeah.
We have to pay for the next 4.
essentially.
Pretty much.
Well, yeah, we have to pay
Jeff,
for the next
how many
5.
have we added,
You gotta
would you
go a
say,
year past the
per
5
year
years.
over the last? And I know that's kind of putting you on the spot.
I would
We've
think
added
that
at least
We've
probably
added a
one.
lot of SROs, we've added I don't have the exact number on deputy sheriff positions, and I guess I had a similar question too. I was wondering just what is the ratio of law enforcement officers per capita, I mean.
Right, how many thousands was that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I tried to do some research real quick before the meeting today, and I think in Kentucky there's 2.3 law enforcement officers per 1,000 employees, per 1,000 people in the state, yes. Or that's the national average.
national average.
That's the national
You're
average.
exactly right, yes.
In the state, it looks like that number is closer to 2, maybe 1.63. I think the number varies as to how many law enforcement officers there really
Who's
are
in
in the
law
state.
for it? Is it SRO, county?
Yeah,
all
exactly.
those things?
That's a good question. So
You would have to, I can say that since I've been in upper command at the sheriff's office, there hasn't been a whole lot of extra positions added strictly to patrol. There's been several SROs.
SROs, yeah.
Obviously, but patrol positions, there really hasn't been a whole lot.
Yeah, there's not been.
Yes.
Yes.
But
the
probably-
county's
but you've been-
growing-
But you've been requesting in each area, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Requesting extra patrol?
Extra patrol.
Yes, yes.
That's been
And
your
we just
request.
added one.
We added one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the county's growing roughly 1,000 people per year is roughly the number I looked at.
Okay.
And if you're looking at having to add on, let's say, an average of 2 officers per year, perhaps that means one's with the city, one's with the county. So maybe, you look at a growth rate of 1 sheriff's deputy a year. It
That's kind of-
probably is a good number for us to be looking at, honestly.
What's
Rick
the-
Hostetler.
What's the population, round figure in Scott
I
County?
would say
60,000.
60,000. Yeah.
Could you apply for 2, like you all said? Could we apply for 2 let's say we're gonna hire 2, and we get to the next fiscal year, next June or so, and we're like, hey, we wanna add 1. Could we add just 1, or would we have to add 2? Like, do you have to use all of it?
I understand your question, Ryan. I'm really not for sure. I don't know. If we applied for 2 and we were granted 2, if we could only take the 1, I'm not sure. And that's something I could find an answer to and let
If you
guys
could
know.
find that, that would be
Yes.
I
helpful.
think
But
I like the idea, especially if we're gonna get the first year free. If we know we're gonna add 1, I don't want us to be hamstrung though with losing the money because we're like, hey, we can only afford 1 right now. Is it better to apply just for 1? I mean, I don't know the answer, so.
The way Betson worded it
I
makes
think-
me think it's 2.
It has to be 2. I saw something in there.
If you go for 2, you're gonna accept 2.
That's what I figured.
Well, but what Betson said is if we're awarded, we can decline the award.
Yes.
Yes.
But the formula will be for 2. So
Yeah. But
I
if you could
can find
find
the
that
answer
out.
and let
but
you guys know.
Regardless, the deadline for the application is
July 1.
July 1. So,
It's been completed. We just haven't submitted it yet. So we just wanted the approval.
So even if we win, so I would say it's a no-brainer. Go for it. I mean, if we get to next
The
June.
motion is just to apply for the grant.
Yes.
so is that a motion?
Motion to apply for this grant.
And I'll second it,
Second.
but I still got a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
So I was just, like Jeff was doing, he was doing it real quick. I'm just trying to run the numbers. How many guys do you have, not counting your office staff, but how many,
Patrol or
Yeah.
just completely with detectives and all?
all of it? Yeah.
Counted 55 sworn officers.
It's 55
So
sworn.
you got 55.
And that's also
What's-
going to include our SROs as well.
Is
Right.
45
And
the
that-
right number for patrol?
45, well, if you look at our numbers, we have 8 on first shift, 8 on second shift, 8 on third shift. We have 2 that we consider a split shift. They come in at 11 a.m. and work until 2100, 9 p.m. So that right there, we're at 26, strictly on patrol. And we have a lieutenant on day shift and a lieutenant that covers second and third shift. So now we're at 28.
And so what's GPD got?
They're over
Just
70,
That many?
yes.
So
Yeah.
you said 55
Mhm.
and 70. I was just trying to do quick math, which I'm not that quick, Dwayne.
120-ish.
Okay.
Doing it, and that
So
puts
if
us
you
at
got two-
60,000, that puts you at 2.
That puts,
I did your numbers, Rick. If you
well, if it's
have a
60,000.
population of 60,000, and if you use the national average of 2.3 per thousand, that means there should be 138 officers in Scott County.
Well,
between the city and the
I
county.
just divided 60,000 by 120. That's sheriff's office and GPD. And I got 500 per five. That's a police officer per 500. If I did the math right in my phone.
You wouldn't divide by 120.
Yeah, your electrician don't do math.
Well, that is house voltage.
How many did you say, Jeff?
You should have
120.
138. If you have 2.3 officers per thousand,
There you go.
Yeah.
so 2.3 times 60 is 138.
In the county, including both agencies. Now,
That's what I did.
we do not have
60,000
any
divided by
state
120
police that are
officers.
assigned to Scott County either.
We handle all calls for
Yeah.
service in Scott County. us and GP.
Unless I did that wrong,
Stamping
I
ground.
Stamping ground.
divided
Stamping-
60,000.
Stamping ground
Stamping ground, city.
and Seddyville, yes.
There are 7 constables.
Yeah.
Well, I was just trying to come up with a number. I divided the 60,000 by 120 officers between total. So that comes out to 1 officer per 500 people. I mean, that's what my calculator says. Not this one, that one.
That's still the same thing. He's saying national average is 2.3, so you.
Per 1,000, okay.
So it's still the
2.3.
same.
Well,
But the Kentucky's
Right.
about 2.
well, that's,
Well,
No.
it depends upon your definition of law enforcement officers. I'm gonna let Jeremy dig into the Kentucky numbers if he wants to more. I'm not gonna get into Kentucky.
Well, I think everybody in the room would agree that our community continues to grow.
sure.
And that this is an opportunity to offset costs to the community if we add law enforcement. Being able to accept or decline the award in October gives us a little bit more time, but if we do not elect to apply, then we will not realize any opportunity. It's kind of like you don't make any of the shots that you don't take. So.
I agree. I think these positions will be needed and are needed, and if we can get some funding towards them, I mean, I think it's a win for the county.
So we had a motion and it had a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do you
Well,
have any other new business?
I do. We had an accident involving one of our cruisers a few weeks back. It was a 2016 Dodge Charger.
I'm aware of that.
That was totaled.
Look at Michelle back there.
Would you like to get it? It was totaled, and I'm asking for the court's permission to replace that vehicle.
I got the numbers back from insurance yesterday, and it's 10,500.
The vehicle that we're looking at was a Ford Explorer with the cost of, on the Explorer, $40,247.
Are you just going to fund it out of your budget and then, or are you asking for additional funds?
It wasn't budgeted.
Yeah,
And
And the bad thing is, the money,
I knew that.
So it's 40,000 what, 270?
247.
Until this fiscal year, even though it's recognized.
Yeah.
Upfit would be approximately $8,000. This would be an admin vehicle, so the upfit would be considerably less than a patrol vehicle. This was going to be a vehicle that was going to be used for one of our soon-to-be newly appointed SROs, so we could hand down one of the vehicles that are being replaced from the ones we're getting this year.
So the domino effect is you had this Charger that was going to go to a SRO.
Correct.
And a new Explorer was going to go to the patrol that was driving the Charger.
This Charger was one of our pool cars. This Charger was being driven by one of our deputies when his vehicle was being serviced or was out of service. He was responding to a call, signal 9, lights and sirens, and a vehicle took a hard left in front of him. He was unable to avoid it.
So if you purchase a new vehicle, that's going to go to an admin.
Correct.
And then an admin's going to hand
down their vehicle.
Hand down their
What could go to
Tahoe.
an SRO.
The Tahoe going to go to a SRO?
Or a patrol. We would make sure we'd keep our best vehicles on patrol because they're the ones that are being driven the most miles.
I don't know how many Chargers we have left.
Not very many.
Yeah.
A handful, and most of them are driven by SROs.
Maybe 4.
Yeah, seems about right.
They need that vehicle. They really do. There's not a day goes by, a week goes by, we don't have 3 or 4 of them.
So your recommendation is the Godfather speaks and JR.
Truly, our K-9 vehicle's been over at Dan Cummins it's a newer Tahoe with major issues, and he's driving an old Tahoe that we have kept a K-9 cage in just to be able to still be able to.
So
But the new vehicle's gonna go to the SRO.
The new vehicle, it'll stay for an admin, it'll go for an admin, one of our lieutenants, and then his vehicle, if it's in decent shape, will go back to patrol. And then we'll hit the patrol vehicle that will replace, will go to an SRO.
Gotcha.
So the ask, give or take, is around $38,000 with upfit minus the insurance.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's correct.
What other questions would anyone have on that request?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Now, looking at our treasurer, can we navigate how we do that? All right.
One thing, the notification today that both the grant
Got it, was approved. You're correct. It was.
for Mrs. Conley's position.
44,000?
That's
Yes.
good.
That notification from the state that was approved for this coming fiscal year.
And we also received a notification not too long ago, receiving 13,000 and some change towards purchase of
Firearms.
firearms.
Correct. We're going to replace all of our off-duty firearms with a different model Glock, and also the purchase of 10 SBR short barrel rifles for patrol.
So that got awarded?
That did get awarded.
We got awarded.
So that'll cover that in full cost.
All right. So we had a motion, second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Rebel, if you could step up, and I was going to ask Rebel just to give us a chief, just a overview and update on our training and our recruits and timeline to get them past the finish line and on a truck.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm not going to ask you to do math or ask for any money, so that's always a plus. We're finishing up week 11 in our recruit class, which is a 14-week class. If everything goes right, the 16th of July, which is a Wednesday, at 4 o'clock, we will graduate 11 new recruits. They will go on shift the 19th, which is Saturday, be their first shift. And there was consecutive 19th, 20th, and 21st. We'll spread them out over the 3 shifts. You are all invited to the graduation. It'll be at 4 o'clock on the 16th at the library. We're really looking forward to this, and obviously it's going to drastically improve our overtime spending, so everybody knows that. And we do appreciate the court's approval of not hiring the provisionals, because it's going to help us in the long run, and it'll help the court in the long run as far as doing overtime budgeting and stuff like that. Any questions on anything on what's going on?
We were really, when we had those provisionals and had not had that hit of retirements and such, our unscheduled overtime was very strong, and you could really tell that we had made an impact in reducing that. And I really feel like by the number that we have in this training class, it'll be a very big positive impact across the service.
Absolutely.
So
It's been a challenge. Obviously, it's the biggest class we've ever had. So there's been some learning curves, with that many people, getting them where they need to go and getting the training done. But we've gotten through it, and I feel very fortunate at the 11 we did get to hire. So the last 2 classes have been great. So very fortunate.
Appreciate all you do and your leadership in the training, and glad to have you where you're at.
I'm just a lucky one gets to do it, Judge.
Well. Any questions?
Any questions? I said 16th, 4 o'clock at the library. Y'all come.
All right. Thank you.
Cake and ice cream, maybe.
I locked up when he started talking about there's 14 days and 11 days left, or weeks.
I didn't ask you to do too much, Matt.
Thank you. Chris, do you have any updates or anything? We'll take both. You got to take both.
I think we were talking, of course, we are moved in and taking calls out of the station now. It's going well. We did run into a couple issues with the building that I guess there was confusion initially with our medical supply room. Did not get air conditioning. So we've got.
Where is that located specifically? Is it down near the bay?
Yeah, so if you're standing in the bay looking towards Lexus Way, it's that front room on the left off the bay. And so because of some of the supplies, medications in there have to stay at a certain temperature, we've got to do something there.
So this is, Chris brought this to Ian's attention, my attention. They've looked into it.
We do
And
have a gentleman that'll be there sometime over the weekend to put temporary AC until we figure out a long-term solution. It is heated, but it's not cooled.
so I do not understand that concept. So,
It's like the central HVAC.
It has vents for the heat, but there's no ductwork for the air conditioning.
Warm IV fluid right
Right.
now. We need to IV warm.
so we'll share more information with the court on that. But overall, the building is fantastic.
It
and
is, and the crews are.
we're
tickled
doing
to death
training
to be
already
there.
out of it.
Yeah,
Crews are happy to be there, and
absolutely.
very.
Yeah,
Very
hopefully
good.
we can schedule a grand opening soon. We've got a few pieces of furniture left to come in, so.
We've got those bunks that have to come in, and I didn't want to. And then I wanted you all to be able to get settled, and then we could do a ribbon cutting, and that's here in July. The plan is to do a ribbon cutting and invite everyone.
I have a question. Is the
Ryan,
plan still, and do you all have a timeline to move an ambulance from downtown to Jacobs Way?
The city has a timeline.
so
We have some
I've
concerns
met with the
about it.
mayor, Chris, Chief Thompson, Chief Johnson, and what they have requested is that instead of just moving one from downtown, they asked for us to move two to Jacobs. And Chris and his teams evaluated that, and City Fire would like to have the rooms vacated by you all, if you vacate both, to put everybody under one roof. And Chris and your staff feel like there's no negative impact on.
It'll kind of be the same situation now that we're just reversed. So City Fire's going to respond to any critical calls we have, and if it was now, say Kroger, they would get there a couple of minutes before us, minute and a half. So it would just be the same for downtown now. They'd get there a minute or so ahead of us.
Yeah. But the big benefit is having proximity to the hospital and that south end as well. So,
And they've offered us that whole entire basement, which is adequate. I mean, it's really nice space, but there's some work that has to be done.
So you all would have both ambulances at Jacobs Way, and there'd be no fire trucks there? Am I understanding that
Be
right?
one.
They'd
Be
still
one.
leave one there,
Yeah.
and they'd basically take over the whole downtown station?
Yes. Yeah, they want to move their code enforcement and their inspection division all under one roof.
Now-
They're going to turn the upstairs into office space.
in the basement of Jacobs, there's a big, it's a big common area with a kitchen that, really doesn't need any work. Or
Right,
maybe-
no.
But there is a need. There's one shower and one bathroom, and then is there another toilet?
Yes, there is.
So you have these two, but really what needs to be done is having two bathrooms with two showers for male and female. It's just a reality. Chris has got somebody coming to give us a price. I've got somebody coming to give us a price to essentially update and make it two working showers, two working baths, two working sinks that would give a male and female access in that basement. The only other thing, there's a big weight room. It's what it is.
Yeah.
But we can cut a hole in a drywall wall and put a door on one end, and then put a wall in the middle, just to make two sleeping rooms that could get 4 bunks total.
Yes.
And that very limited expense there.
Yeah,
A little paint and a little drywall and a door. We'll be working on that as fast as we can to get them there, and then try to navigate that. So we'll update you all as we get more information on that. Before Rick asks, what's our staffing level?
Our staffing is full. We do have one of our battalion chiefs that's going to be retiring in a couple months, so we'll probably a trickle-down effect there, and we'll have a lines position we have to interview for.
Okay.
That brings up a question. So you all, I saw on social media, you're just about ready to graduate a cohort of paramedics?
Correct.
So what will you all do with them if there's no staffing needs? Like, if we paid for them to go, there was nowhere for them to work, what are we gonna do with them?
We would just run double paramedic trucks. So they would stay in the same ambulance they are now, but we'd have 2 paramedics, which is good for morale because that allows them to switch out every other call rather than having a paramedic and EMT where you may have to take every call in the back for the entire shift. So.
Any other questions? I think that's a good problem.
I agree.
That's a good
Jeff
problem.
would agree too.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Zach, if you could put up there we go, and our county clerk, Rebecca Johnson is with us, and this is a graphic that your staff put together. Rebecca, would you like to come up and comment about what you all are going to communicate starting tomorrow if someone wants to register this type of vehicle? That's okay. I'll take it for you. I didn't want to put you, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but.
I was going to try to walk the Finley 5K route before the meeting, and the weather thwarted my plan. So what we put together, I passed this along to Jared earlier today. We were going to possibly have it come from the fiscal court. Then we recognized the city had to put, or all our cities, Georgetown, Stadieville, and Stamping Ground would potentially be putting an ordinance in place as well. So we thought it was better just to put a general flyer out to any of our customers who come in and they're asking questions or want to proceed with titling and registering their previously off-road vehicles as street legal vehicles. So we try to stick to the basics but cover the basics and have something visually appealing that hopefully they'll read. And again, it was difficult because I just attended a clerk's conference. There's a big question about whether there's going to be property tax assessed. So there's a lot of discussion happening between Transportation Cabinet, Department of Revenue, and our legislators. So our legislators, I feel like it from a tourism standpoint. Department of Revenue is looking at it from collection of taxes. So that's going to have to be hashed out between now and January. So that's why we put proposed property tax. So there will be a registration fee, but we will not be, we are uncertain of whether there will be property tax assessed, like there would be with a vehicle, where you pay usage tax or sales tax up front at purchase, and every year thereafter, there's a property tax. We refer to it as an ad val tax that's assessed every year thereafter based on the value. So that's in question right now. So we just try to put as much general information out as we could. But I think this will make it clear to our customers, just because you're registering and titling as street legal, it is not currently legal to operate these vehicles on Scott County roads or roads that are within the city limits of Georgetown, Stadieville, or Stamping Ground.
And just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention again, that they're eligible to register these tomorrow, but I feel like we need to gather more public feedback before we move forward. We'll say this again, like if we pass an ordinance, you're not taking that ordinance back. I mean, you can, in my opinion, you can maybe tweak it a little bit, but once you make these legal to drive, taking that, rescinding that ordinance would be a big challenge and would be a big headache. So I want us to be fully informed and make an informed decision before we move forward. And next Thursday, just a reminder, July 3rd is when we're going to have our work session instead of the 4th. We're going to have it on the 3rd at 9 a.m. I intend to have this on that work session topic for discussion, and then we can go forward from there. You have any other comment? And I appreciate you sharing that with Jared, and I just wanted to make sure that we put it out. And we'll try to put this on social media as well. I know you all will. And
We
then
will.
every time somebody tries to or registers, you're going to hand this to them, so
Yes.
everybody's informed. Questions or comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
One quick question,
Yes,
Judge.
sir.
I'm just kind of trying to go back in memory. So there are a lot of qualifications. What is it that they have to bring? I know it's proof of insurance. If they're going to register a vehicle, they've got to meet those guidelines in Senate Bill 63, right? Or even if, because what it'll allow them to do, there are counties, to my knowledge, in eastern Kentucky that already have ordinances in place. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty positive of that. So a Scott County resident, and there are plenty of folks in Scott County that own these vehicles, but when they register it, it's going to have to meet those requirements, right? Because that will allow them to go to, I don't know, Estill County, somewhere.
Well, Harlan County, Black Mountain.
Right.
And,
You have a
and
comment on
That
inspection?
would be some of the requirements that we, as the sheriff's office, would have to ensure when we do the inspection, that they'd have all those
Okay.
requirements.
Right.
So we've already received several phone calls at our office wanting to know when we're gonna start these inspections. So we expect several.
So they would have to take that with them to the clerk's
Take the
office.
inspection form that we
Right.
would fill out and complete at our office, and we'll take it to the clerk's office to know that they meet the requirements.
so they can register it here in Scott County. They can
Right.
put it on a trailer, and they can drive to Harlan County.
Once they've been
And
inspected. and-
If that county has passed an ordinance.
Sure, gotcha. That's what I thought it would be. I just kind of wanted to clarify it, because that's what I'm already having people ask me about it, so.
And I think everybody agrees that the push for this ordinance kind of originated at Eastern Kentucky, where all those trail riding areas are, and people can get from a hotel or a campground to the trailhead and such. So, you know, that.
I know at our last meeting, your office talked about that the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet was looking at, they hadn't made the final rules. Has that been done? Do we know? Has that
My
been-
understanding from what David had said, it was like there was something going to be released on the 27th.
So
That's tomorrow.
Because the rules could
So-
change, right?
Right. And we hope our system that the Transportation Cabinet has in place will work to do what we intend to do. So we'll hope that system is up and working tomorrow. That's still in question because we won't be able to attempt to do that until tomorrow. But this is subject to change, but it's my understanding that potentially a dealership like MLS could, in the foreseeable future, they could do inspections. They could prepare everything and send it to us for processing. But as I understand it right now, they've decided to forego doing that at this time. They'll simply have that these vehicles are already titled, but they're titled as off-road. So it's my understanding that they would potentially, right now, come to us as an off-road title. And then we would proceed with sending them to the Sheriff's Department for an inspection and come back and title it as street legal. It's a little bit complicated. If it had a lien on it, we've had discussions about that today, we would potentially need to release that lien and then immediately reapply it on the new title, from the off-road title to the street legal title. So it's a whole process that's going into place that hasn't been fully explored yet. But
We'll look for updates tomorrow, and then we'll share that next week, and then we'll march forward.
yep,
Appreciate it.
sounds good. Thank you.
Jared Holland.
And then, Rob, I've sent this to Jill Hoffman, Santa Ground, and then Laura at City Hall in St. Louis. This document. So looks like they're gonna have to do some work too.
Yeah, absolutely. With that said, we'll share information about our sheriff's office, clerk's office progress. I've walked through that thing about 3 times this week. Are we scheduled Monday for a basement walkthrough punch list? So we're scheduled Monday for a basement walkthrough punch list. The first floor punch list was done, and it was lengthy. They're working through that. They're addressing many of those issues. But if you go out there tomorrow and walk through it, I mean, it looks like we're very close. And they were putting in ceiling trim in that main corridor entrance. The community room was still, they're still trying to navigate that. It needed a little bit more finishing. But like if you go back through the office space, we're much closer in that basement. The election area, voting center area, I mean, it's been painted. It's got flooring. I'm very excited that the county will, and our county clerk will have, essentially control over a voting center area. That, we've had great partners with the library, the school system, but being able to have a large area that we control is very beneficial. So you'll have multiple voting center areas, make it much more convenient for the public, and that's exciting.
Is that basement area part of the storm shelter?
The storm shelter is in the basement, but not that voting area.
The storm shelter encompasses most of the finished area of the basement.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and then, Chris gave you an update on that, we're operating out of it. I've driven out there 3 or 4 times. And that building's great. Chris, y'all have done some training classes already as well.
She started training out there before we moved in.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I don't know if, Rob sent me a picture. I don't know if you've noticed, but steel is going up at the Justice Center project, and that's moving along very well. The storm water install has been completed and is functional and worked well when we had the rain about 10 days ago. So it was all in then. So they're moving along, and that's very promising as well. So I have no other new business. Anyone else have any new business? Anyone from our audience? With that said, then, Kelly, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Rick Hostetler, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.